And I ain't hit no drop in a minute. No, I'm about my business.
Rapper's Guide, episode 10, continuation from 9. We're still here with Twan and with Dolla ignDunn. And we just wanted to continue the conversation we were having before. Before we left, we were talking about how Instagram was telling me that certain shit was too broad, or there was too many people underneath that promotion that I was trying to set up. And the concept of that even being a thing, I think, is just false. I think that as many people as you could bring in, that's what you should be trying to accomplish. And being an artist that doesn't promote at all versus an artist who promotes to too many people, I know which side I want to be on.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? As far as promotion goes, have you guys done a lot of promotion for your records?
Yeah, for sure. That's how you get like to the people. Like, of course, you can just put it out and hope that, I hope this shit booms, but you got to get that shit to motherfuckers. Like, somehow someone has to hear this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, me personally, like, you do the promotion, but you got to do a direct promotion. Like, I know a motherfucker that listens to Future all day probably won't listen to my shit, but I know someone that like Currency is gonna like my shit. So I got to make sure that I get my music in front of that person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Dunn too. And I feel like with the promo thing is I always say to him, like, when you spending like bread on whatever you work on, like you spending money on whatever you work on, like you should try to get the most out of that product. Like, whether it's music, clothes, or whatever, like if I'm like investing X amount of dollars, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's good, like quality work too. Like, I want the most people to like hear this shit possible.
It's also like not spending like a drunken sailor when you are doing promotion or you are building a clothing line and stuff. Like, just because that material feels good doesn't mean that you should pay X amount when there's probably someone out there who's selling that same material for a cheaper price. So you still got to look around and figure it out. Like what we were talking about off mic about conversion and how much change something costs to actually get a click on your thing. I don't think a lot of artists know about that when it comes to Instagram. So like we're talking about Instagram ads and how you could put $20 a day into Instagram ads, but if you don't know what locations work best for that, you're kind of just making the wrong move.
Your money away.
So people that are listening, like, just because you're promoting doesn't mean you're doing it properly. So you got to also, and this is what sucks, like, I might talk to an artist who's like, yeah, I just started doing Instagram ads and like I'm seeing some numbers and shit. And although they're on the right path, now it's like, just like you got to dig deeper into music, you got to dig deeper into this and understand how this works and understand what territories, and there's a tier system, right?
Yeah, it's also a trial and error. Like, you just never know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And also, one of the biggest things, like Mark Barino, basically, shout out to Mark once again, he basically put me onto the advertisements and where to look and search for them. And within that, what I'm saying, you may have an ad that'll do good, give you like 10, 15 cents a click. And then you throw like another ad out there and it's probably like 60 or 70 cents. And I've done that myself. Like almost every new release, I'll try to see or gauge if I can get close to that 10, 20 cent.
Describe what you're talking about for like a listener at home who has no idea what 10, 20 cents versus 70 cents is even in regards to.
So like if we looking at it from like, let's look at it from a dollar standpoint. If I advertise my song, Mr. Famous, each time somebody clicks on that link, it's going to be 15 cents. If I advertise my song, Sasha, every time somebody clicks on that song, it'll cost me 60 cents. So I don't know math that good, but like, now I'm thinking about it. But I don't know how many times you have to click for the 15 cents before it turns into $1. But I do know if 2 people click my Sasha song, I just paid $1.20.
Right.
But that 15 cents, 15, 30, 45, 60.
4 times.
You know what I'm saying? 4 to maybe 7 times. So it's like, you're advertising something, but if I'm advertising Sasha, I'm losing money because I could advertise Mr. Famous for the lower cost and then hope that possibly, since they like the Mr. Famous, they'll go to Sasha eventually anyway. So it's like I'm technically saving money. They're going to eventually maybe come across this song, and if they do happen to like it, I didn't even pay no money for it. I still paid that 15 cents.
I also think that it works like this too. Like, I think that people get a misconception when they listen to, oh, you should promote your music, where they drop on a consistent basis. Now they're trying to do ads on every single song.
Yeah.
Like, there are specific songs that are advertisement worthy, that you know are going to connect with a wider audience. And then there's songs that might be like B-sides. So you don't put the same emphasis on promoting a B-side as you would with a record that would be like a hit or a record that would work for a broader audience. And I think that that's what a lot of artists get fucked up. So they think like, I can't promote because I put out records all the time. So how am I going to promote all these records? But it's like, pick that one, promote that shit, release all the rest of your records. And as you're releasing those records, those followers are going to trickle in and listen to your new records as well. So you don't have to put so much emphasis on every single record. It's just
that was like the point of singles back then.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a single. It's a single. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like people get confused because of the new like algorithms and the new process of making music, but everything's already like happened. We're just updating it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we're figuring out how to navigate rather than being in a physical copy world in a digital world. And a lot of the ideas that worked back in the day still work. You just got to update them and like figure out how they work in this thing. Like there's certain things in business that you could read a business book from 1960 or 1950 and a lot of the shit still applies.
Yeah, it still may apply.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just have to figure out how it applies to you. Doesn't mean it doesn't apply because like business is different now. There's the internet. It's like, yeah, it still applies. You just got to figure out how to use the internet. It's business. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the problems I do have. Like almost every release, I'm trying to figure out how can I advertise it. And in a sense, it's like I'm throwing away money, but I be thinking, you know, let me just see if I could just grab somebody else from a different country or a different audience. But, you know, I don't leave them on for too long because once I start seeing that it's like kind of me throwing away money, I probably leave it on for like 3, maybe 5 days. Like even right now, like my new song that just came out, I got it. This is the 3rd day. By Tuesday, I'm probably going to turn it off and just leave at Mr. Famous because it just cost me so much less. But I'm just giving myself a jump start within the streams and just grabbing different listeners or different followers from different countries for that song specifically.
I would also say that I don't think that it's a mistake to promote every single song.
No,
I think that
it's
it's
trial
fine
and
to
error.
promote every single song. I'm just saying you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't.
You know what I mean? Like you're never going to hurt yourself by promoting every single song. It's only going to help, but like you're going to hurt your pockets a little bit.
Plus,
and you don't have to do that shit.
Unemployment was hitting. So
Yeah.
I was just shooting that shit. I'm good for it.
Respect it.
But yeah, a lot of artists out there, like, they just need to figure out what song it is that works for them, what can they promote, and what's going to bring in the most people. And you have to pay attention when I'm saying that as well. What he's talking about with the cents per click or whatever, you also have to be very aware of that. So yeah, if you have one song that's getting a lot more clicks for a lot less money, go with that one.
Yeah.
Figure out how to work that one.
And I wouldn't even say for you to, you can use that as kind of like an anchor point. I'm not saying like to make the songs exactly the same, but if you see that there's a specific way of how you orchestrated a song or how, you know, you the bar structure or like maybe even the drums and the beat or whatever, you can literally kind of recreate that same song and still be able to advertise it, and it may go right back to that audience. Because like even when it comes to advertisement, there's something where it says retarget your audience. Like that's what allows Facebook allows you to do that. And whoever clicked on my stuff before, it kind of remembers it.
So they're gonna see it again.
It tracks it, and then they'll start sending it to them again, or it'll start sending it to their friends now because it's like, okay, well, if this person clicked it, their friend may like it. So
People that
then
got common interest type of thing.
it automatically just starts generating for yourself,
So
and it starts
basically,
branching
it's
out.
like a trial and error of the algorithm.
Mhm.
Basically.
You know what that
just
also
figure it
brings
out.
us right back to? Art versus business.
Business, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So like you could listen to that song that you made Mr. Famous, and you could listen and go, yo, this song fucking worked, right? Let me make a Mr. Famous too.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're like on the business side of things, and you're like, I'm just gonna do a copy and paste, and I'm gonna bring in all these followers because that's what this one did, right?
Mhm.
You take away the artistry from it.
And I actually was able to do that because the song "End of Time," it was actually getting around 15 to 19 cents per click, and then I did it again with "Self Care." Self Care wasn't click, like it was like 47 cents at that point. I was like, okay, it could work. Once again, it's still all trial and error. So then I turned the advertisement off for Self Care, and then I put it on End of Time, and then once again the streams just started increasing every day, and then on top of that, they're going to Mr. Famous, and then I'm not directly advertising my song Self Care, but now the streams are just coming in because they hear the other singing portions. So let me. What else does this guy got that's singing? What else he got that's rapping?
Yeah.
It just snowball.
So you
snowball.
two as creatives, how do you feel about taking a record that is working in the algorithms and then recreating that record? Obviously not 100%, but maybe the same structure, and knowing that, well, these records work for me. let me make more of these records?
I don't even think I go into like creating like that, to be honest. I just go for feeling. So if I'm in a certain mood and I write like 5 records that week, then they might just
Have the same
have the
sound.
yeah,
right?
like,
Mhm.
but I'm not intentionally saying like I want this to sound like the last one that did X amount of views.
But now you
or X
have a
amount of
record that's
plays.
blowing up and it is doing those views and shit.
Yeah.
Are you more drawn to maybe I should make another one like that?
Nah, not really, bro. I'm gonna be honest, because even like my most popular records, they all kind of got like a different, not kind of, they all have a different feeling.
Mhm.
So I never found myself saying like, all right, well, this is because I just know people like things for different reasons.
Yeah, difference.
You know, so I could have a record where I'm just like lyrical as fuck, and that shit could have like 100,000, and then I got a record when I'm probably like talking about a female or something like that, and that could have 100,000. So it's just like, well, why do these people like this one, and why do people? You can't never really
Right.
like,
There's enough
you know?
people out there that
Yeah,
could have the same
yeah.
vibe happening from multiple records.
And it's hard to guess like why is it that they like that record? Like, yeah, you could structure it the same, but it's like, well, we don't like it that we don't like this song, even though it sounds exactly like that last shit, because you're not saying this the same
Yeah.
way.
And
Or
it
you're
could be
not
like, yo,
talking
that's
about-
like a cheaper version of the
That's
one
a
that.
fact.
because the first one was
You-
authentic, and now you're just
Mhm.
trying to create
Yeah,
a
yeah.
But I also
feeling.
think that that's how record labels have processed forever. You know
'Cause-
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I
but
think
and then that's how they burn out, and you know. But I get what you're saying, because there is a method to how they do shit.
like
Like,
Atlantic is one that's like 100% known for this is how a hit is constructed. We're going to make a hit today.
Mhm.
Pick from this book of samples, and this is what we're gonna do. And it works for Atlantic. So
Think
there-
about the baby.
right. And there is a process. There's a process to that machine where
Yeah.
they know, yo, this type of beat. Like I think it's like every hit for the past like 100 years has had the word love in it somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like it's shit like that where there are people that are solely analytic based. Like it's like looking at a pitcher
Mhm.
and being like, yeah, this motherfucker throws heat. And then there's
Mhm.
someone that's like, yo, the spin rate on the ball, like we could check out the spin rate and we could probably enhance the spin rate. And balls that are thrown with a certain amount of spin rate get hit less. And that analytical person takes away the love from the baseball itself. You know what I mean? But they know how to make that person better or to have a better result. So I don't know where I fall in terms of that. Like, I really think from a business sense or business standpoint with a lot of music. So when it comes to shit like that, the copy and paste record, the music purist in me goes, nah, that's not the way. But the music businessman in me goes, if it worked, you know, it worked.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
I also think it's how you go into music too. I think that some people's approach to music is from a business standpoint, so they should go about it like it's a business. Where some people's approach is from a creative and artistic standpoint, and that should be their way. you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because it's like even like, you know, some of those songs, like they're probably like more singy or like more R&B ish. Like, you know, Mr. Famous is like kind of hip hop R&B, and the time was more just straight R&B, and it didn't do as well because probably I didn't put the hip hop elements inside of it, but it's just like all within trial and error. And then, like I said, you'll see the same thing with like the baby or what was that? What was the girl's name that I thought was Meg Thee Stallion, but it really wasn't?
I know who you're talking about. I
The,
don't know her. I know
what's
the Nelly record.
The
That-
Nelly record.
That most recent like trend.
Bust It, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. That's only
Yeah.
two. That's the only shit I know about it. So.
Yeah,
But
I thought that
Tyga-
was Meg Thee Stallion.
Tyga is good at that too.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
Tyga,
Tyga. Mhm.
finds that pocket for him,
Mm-hmm.
and he just goes all.
And that's
And
just
them
like
just be bangers.
And that's just like the music business side of it I think, or just also knowing like what the sound is and what works. Like even at a point, like I'll go into a lot of my songs are like vibey and they're like bouncy, but like sometimes I really don't be knowing what the hell I'm gonna do. Once I get the beat, I just kind of just go in there and figure it out.
Yeah.
But there's also in that sense, like if you find something that works, just keep it going, because then you just never know. Because now everybody rapping like the baby, everybody rapping like Lil Baby, and even if it was like a tweet somewhere like he had like a snippet, but it was muted. And it was like, I don't even need to really know what that song sounds like, but I know what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You already can hear it by just looking at him. Like, I already know what this song gonna sound like.
I also think Tyga is a perfect example of someone who tries different things and it just never works. So then it's like,
He
yo,
just resorts
back to
what
the
works.
strip club
Yeah.
record. You know what I mean? Like,
And that's
Tyga-
what people want from him. Like they
Right.
know him for that, and we want you to do that.
right. And I think that happens a lot with artists. So it's like, yo, Rack City drops, super successful. You're fucking huge right now. Everyone's listening to you. You fall off and you try to make like a sing-songy album. does nothing, and then you come out with Taste, and it's like, oh, right back in. It's you know what I'm saying, and that kind of takes away the artistic credibility from it because it's like, Tyga, just do what we like from you.
Yeah, he even
right?
did it there was a Jersey artist named Cookie Kawashi do like Jersey club
I've heard
mix and
of
shit.
it,
Yeah. And randomly I heard the original song because I think it blew up on TikTok. And then randomly the video came out and Tyga was driving like a fire truck and I was like, where the fuck did Tyga come from? But he just fit so perfectly in it because it was like a club song. So I was like, I know why he's there, but it was just still shocking to see him in a fire man's outfit just driving around.
Yeah, I think that specific artists work with specific music, and it's shitty, but again, that's the business of it.
I fuck with it, man. I tell you, Taste was hard. He got like a couple other records that have followed up after that shit. That was like still like
in that same
yeah,
pocket.
and that shit was still hard. I'm
Right,
like,
but imagine being him and wanting to make like a boom bap record.
Yeah, wanted to branch out and do
Right?
something different.
Yeah, I
And
feel
every
you.
time you do
Feel
that shit, like no one fucking cares. That's the shitty part.
It's crazy because Travis on Travis album, like the last record, the Coffee Bean joint, when he did that, where like everything, the whole album was like what you would expect almost from
Bouncy
Travis.
and-
Yeah,
right.
and then that last record was like kind of like just real shit.
Yeah.
And it was like that. I felt like his core was probably like what the fuck, but I was like, damn,
This is what I
would
needed.
kind of like I would kind of want to hear more.
Like a whole album of that. Right.
Yeah. But I could get how that could be a little tough for him because like his
Music
core,
sells. It's about what's selling and how much money you can get in and garner. So it's like
Less tough for him, more tough for the label, right? Like
That's true.
Like
yeah.
he probably feels comfortable putting
Yeah, I'm
that
sure he got
record out.
mad at those in the top. Yeah.
But the label's like, nah, bro, we could put one of those on here. And then, and that's them being lenient. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That shit was hard. The Coffee Bean joint, that shit was hard.
Because these are people who they don't listen to the music. They don't care about the music.
They're just going by the data.
Right. It's all data driven. So like, and that's why when artists are so like yearning for a label deal, it's like, I don't think that they even comprehend what they're really asking for. You know what I mean? Like if you make a music that's like very soulful and is like very you and it's unique, like the second you get to a label, they might take parts of it, but they're going to turn it into
Money
works.
making machine. Hell
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you're asking for them to fuck up your music pretty much.
Yeah,
Or not even that. You're asking for someone else to take control of it.
Right.
they're taking control of the art because you want to get into business. That's basically what ends up happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that again, there's power in being both sides of the fence. There's power in being the business driven musician who understands that shit and works with them, which you could probably look at like a Drake and say, if anyone understands the business and understands how to work the business, it's Drake. Like, I don't think that he ever goes home and goes, fuck, I really want to rap on the Dilla beats, but like they won't let me rap on the Dilla
I think
beats.
Cole do a good job too. with
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Like
sure.
staying really true to himself and
Yeah.
still making like bangers that like don't turn anyone off. None of that. Like make you look at him like a different artist.
I also
Yeah.
think the following is different. I think Cole does have a mainstream following, but I think he like teeters the fence of like the hip hop head versus Drake, who's like, you could be a pop fan and listen to Ariana Grande every day and
You still
listen
go
to
to
a Drake record and it fits the pocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to know something that's funny? When he dropped that, what's the name of the shit he just dropped?
The Scary Hours 2 or whatever.
It came out, I'm like, oh, Drake's about to drop. It came out, and the next day, probably for like the next 2 days, I just see nothing but Drake on my
Oh, of
timeline.
course.
Nothing
Of
but
course.
Drake.
That's what's gonna
I'm like,
happen.
yo, he got the shit really in the headlock.
As if he needs the promotion, right?
Yo, I'm
we
just
talking
like,
about that on the previous episode too. Like, yo,
it's just like, damn. He really got, and it was 3 different songs. None of them shit sounded like it was something for everybody on that shit.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's smart. Like a 3-pack, he's putting out the street record, he's putting out the Atlanta record, and he's putting out the rap,
the Rick
yeah,
Ross,
the rapper real shit. But
cool shit.
What started to bother me about his music is like being in the industry or like seeing the industry and understanding the industry. You know what that is. So like all those records are starting to sound the same. All like the 5 a.m., the whatever, and then
Okay.
like the lemon pepper freestyle,
Yeah, it's
whatever.
basically
Like
the
So
same
all
thing.
of
after a
them-
while, you start to hear, okay, I know what this song is about.
I know
to
what he's
sound like.
doing.
Yeah.
I know what he's doing, and it's not what people think he's doing.
And
as
even-
far as like people are like, oh, he's tapping into his true self. It's
But
like,
think about
he
this.
knows what he's doing.
the average listener is just
Right.
They're
They're
not,
not
That's
paying
what I'm saying.
attention.
Like
Yeah.
me and you might sit there and go, "Oh, he's just making
And
another one." Of
it's very few people that hear music like that.
Mhm.
Like I always say it all the time. Like it was hard for me to hear music the same way the casual listener hears.
Yeah.
Bro, me as an engineer is the most fucking difficult shit in the world because like fuck just knowing where they're trying to position the music. I'm also like constantly critiquing the actual like
The
construction of the
mixing
record.
and the mastering of it, like,
ah,
oh, they
damn.
should have did this. and
Yeah,
trying to-
Hove's vocal is mad low on that Talk That record. They should probably raise that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit like that. And like listening to music for me now is like the most difficult thing in the world because I listen to all the artists that I mix typically.
Yeah.
If I know of an artist, like a Jersey artist, I'll listen to your projects because I'm like trying to tap into like who's local, but I'm around artists every day. So like when Drake drops a project, I'm not the first person rushing to it because it's like I have so much music to listen to that I like had a part of
Yeah.
that like I'd rather bump that shit than some Drake shit that everyone's gonna post on their timeline anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna hear it regardless.
Right?
You
Yeah.
don't gotta go look at it.
Yeah, I'll go outside one day this summer and it's gonna all be playing. You know?
I be running to that shit, man. I ain't gonna front.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
we all
fuck
we,
with- I
we
fuck with
all
Drake.
low key do.
I
Like
fuck
we
with Drake
all low
OD,
Oh
key.
no, I
man.
love Drake, bro.
Yeah.
From the jump, I'm a diehard Drake fan. I just get what he's doing now. So
Yeah.
it's like it's become very machine like to me rather than just
Even-
like I feel like at one point he was making those like heartfelt records that were true to him. And now it's just everything he does is so
But
business oriented.
There's a bar, and I think it is the Lemon Pepper freestyle. Like picture me rapping like I still ain't. Damn, I forgot exactly how it go. But he kind of touches on that. Like
Right.
he knows the point that he at, so he knows just like he can't. I won't say he can't, but he just knows. I think his audience knows. Like I can't talk about me being like the old when I was coming up Drake and like.
And I wouldn't expect him to.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like I'm too aware of how this works for me to expect him to go back to a record like that. And it's the same for every artist. Like Hove has made those references where it's
Mhm.
like, yo, you want my old shit? Listen to my old albums.
Right,
The
yeah.
Weeknd is a pop
I
star
like the
now. He's not
old
going to be
Kanye.
rapping.
I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah.
all do it. And it's like understood if you're in the industry specifically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like only a novice or like a consumer is going to expect Kanye West to drop a college dropout type record. Like I don't expect that from him anymore. Because like why the fuck would he? It wouldn't make any sense for him and his catalog. You know, like he's constantly changed how his music sounds. He's not going to just go back one day and be like, fuck it, I'll just drop College Dropout Part 2. Even though people like us would run to that shit.
yeah.
But he's not going to do it because it wouldn't make sense for his discography and like his growth in the business.
And I just thought about something because we was talking about, you know, like business and art. So like when we talk about Drake too, the Tootsie Slide, whatever the fuck that song was, that's the name
Tootsie
of it.
Slide or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the right foot up, left foot,
Mhm.
you know, like that technically that's art, right? But we all know that he was using that as like a business tool to kind of like tap into
Yeah, for,
like,
like,
the TikTok
TikToks. Yeah,
just
for
to be able to
sure,
get like
for
a
sure.
viral dance because it happened before with I forgot what it was, whatever that song that Shiggy was dancing around.
Kiki, do you
Oh,
know
yeah.
what I
That
mean?
did, yeah. And he like basically looked at that and was like, let me just capitalize and see if I could do the same thing. And same thing happened with Tootsie Slide. And
But
it's
see, as an artist, don't you look at that and go,
It's so corny.
It's corny as fuck. I
Yeah.
know what he's doing.
But it's hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's hard,
is
yeah.
hard, but it's just. I guess that's the separation between art and business.
Yeah.
It's knowing the business, and if you know the business, you're not as enticed by the art because you're like, I know what the fuck he's doing, and it's like, it sounds good, but it's just intentional as fuck. There's no actual like love behind that record. If you ask Drake, yo, do you really fuck with that record? He'd be like, nah, but you know what I was doing. You know what I mean?
I can dance like Michael Jackson.
And that
Especially
goes-
if he's a real dude. Like he's gonna be like, you know exactly what I was doing with that record.
And that goes right back to like him being so good at the art and the business that he can literally go in the studio, construct a song that'll be like so perfect for what he's trying to do, and it'll make so much money that nobody
Of course,
cares. And it's
of
gonna be a
course.
good song.
Mm-hmm.
He's
But
great at
I
it.
feel like as an artist, you would want that. Like, yo, my shit is gonna be fire and it's gonna make us money. But
Yeah.
after a while, once you start doing it for so long, that it becomes like,
Well,
alright.
it's also like when you look at Drake's older works and you listen to like a comeback season and you know that he's not that machine artist at his core,
yeah.
then it's like, does he even fuck with the shit he's making? You know what I mean? Because bro, I've made the poppy records throughout the course of I always go back to this one record that was literally like a G-Eazy record that I made. And I made it with the sole purpose of watch this shit. And to this day, but I deleted the record. I fucking hated it because it was just like, it was like
You
too
knew you
on
were trying
point.
to do something
It was too on point, like where like people really like bothered me by listening to it. You know what I mean? It was like, you guys are so fucking corny type shit. And I deleted the record. To this day, though, it has like one of the most streams on my Spotify all time because of that. And if I was that guy who was Mr. Machine, I would have kept on making records like that, knowing that it works. But like something within me didn't allow me to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's what they say about like selling your soul for your art. Cause it's like you could have been on if you would have kept making those type of records. Like you keep making big records, but it's like, yo, that's not what you want to make.
It just doesn't suit me at all. Like it was like I think because I'm a engineer and also I rap, so like I know how to construct a record to where it's like, if you wanted an Atlanta trap record, I could do all the tones. I could make it sound exactly like that, but it doesn't necessarily fit who I am. So it's like, it's hard for me to know what I could do and just not do it. You know?
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting there going, I could make 20 records like this and I'll probably get somewhere with it. But like knowing that would hold me to that for the rest of my career, like a Tyga, where it's like, yo, just make strip club records. Yo, just make G-Eazy type records. Knowing that I'd be held to that makes me be like, let me avoid that at all costs because I don't want to be held to that at any point.
Yeah,
you know, build a whole career on that type of record. And now I'm fucking at like white people clubs in Vegas and shit, being that guy. And I don't want to do that shit. You know what I mean? I'd rather be in a lounge with hip hop heads, really like rapping, than be in that room with a bunch of people that like, they don't give a fuck about the art whatsoever. You know, it's all business at that point. So I don't know. Me pulling down that record was just me being like, I can't do that even if I wanted to, you know?
Yeah.
And I think all of us could do that. If you're a good musician, you know what you could make. And like, you could hop on a the Baby type beat right now, and every single person that you know that listens to the Baby is gonna be like, yo, you murked that, bro. That shit hard as fuck. And you know what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just that integrity thing.
But now, being that there is a little like bit of a science behind it, would you still not consider it like art almost? Because, you know, if that was the case, then everybody could do it, right? But everybody can't.
Everybody can do it.
You think so?
Yeah, if I take a kid off the street right now and I go, all right, I'm going to write this song for you. You're going to say it like this. And then I do a Dr. Dre and I do 100 takes. No. Say it like this. And he eventually hits those tones, hits everything that I want, right? And we put that record out. There's no way in hell that you're telling me that record won't work. Because if I put money behind the promotion of it, it fits the mold of everything that's going on right now. I could absolutely fabricate a hit.
But
and that's why I'm saying anyone could do it.
As if like, yeah, I can't fuck with that because all it's doing is reminding me of
who's playing
whatever.
It?
Who's playing it?
The regular consumer, man.
Oh, you just talking about like the everyday?
I'm saying they don't give a fuck. Like people, bro, we think so deeply about music. Like the fact that we're even sitting here having this conversation means that we think so deeply about music. And the average person, that's background shit to them.
Yeah, because we're in it, so it seems like it's more of an important thing. But for the most average listener, they don't care. Like even when it comes to like breaths in a record, you may hear it or an engineer may hear it, but the regular person, they don't hear that. And you ask them like, yo, you heard that? Like, no, what are you talking about? I don't hear anything. It sounds perfectly fine. And you're like,
yo, you make a top 40 record or like a hip hop hit record, right? And I'm at a party and I'm playing Pong and there's bitches with fat asses everywhere and that record's playing in the background and it fits the vibe of the place. I don't give a fuck what that record is saying or sounding like. As long as it fits the vibe and is playing in the background, that's how a normal consumer takes in music. They're like, it plays while I'm out and I'm not listening to the words. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what he said on there. Does it sound good? Are the chicks dancing? If that's the case, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying, like, I think anyone could fabricate a hit record. I think anyone can make a hit record. And your perfect example is literally like Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Industry plants.
Why would that type of person be able to even get to where he got? And it's literally like copy and paste. Yo, Lucian Grange's son's gonna fucking grab this person and mold them. Yo, that record worked. You got so many players. Like now we're gonna turn this kid into huge blood and he's gonna be protected everywhere he goes, but we're gonna tell all the biggest bloods in the world fuck themselves and we're gonna get all this vibe behind him, right? You could fabricate a successful artist in this day and age where you couldn't do that back in the day.
There's so many successful artists right now that I feel like are either industry plants or they just put there specifically with like a label behind them with the intention to make them big.
Industry plant?
Somebody that the label has put in place to actually just make the money.
It could even be deeper than that. It could be someone worked at the label. Their son is a rapper, and they got all the backing in the fucking world. You know, Russ, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, like his father ran. I want to say
like a
like
distribution or some shit.
No, it was some sort of like touring agency or something like that, and he was tapped in. Like, yo, there's people that are tapped in. We all have homies that like did a record with someone because they knew them, and you know, and they got some success from that shit. And it's like, when you have connections in this game, you can get further in this game.
Yeah.
When you have connections in real life, you can get further in real life. It's just how the world works. You know what I mean? So like, you might be one of those people that's like very introverted into yourself, but like, you're not, if you don't have homies that are doing this shit and they're not playing your shit out and they're not showing people, and you're sitting in your house creating these great records, the likelihood of you getting somewhere is so much lower, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It definitely gotta take like a team for shit to move. I feel like, but I don't know. I guess like it goes back to what we was talking about earlier, that like I just listen to shit with a different ear, and like to me, if I could tell like it's not authentic from a certain artist, then I can't really like rock with it. But I'm like a small percentage versus you know
To a large majority of people that just don't be giving a fuck.
Right. And that's the thing. Like we're so artistic when it comes to how we view music that like we really see the integrity in it, where majority of people don't.
Yeah.
And it's the same with anything, bro. Sports, like, yo, if you played basketball, you might be enamored by some of the passes that like a Luka Doncic makes. To like an average person, they're like, oh shit, he threw it over his head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how hard that shit is. You don't know that he had to like see with his peripheral and shit like that. Like for an actual basketball player, you understand the art behind that shit. But for like an average consumer, it's like you're sitting at a game drinking a beer, like, oh shit, he dunked the ball, like shit like that. You know what I mean?
Cool, yeah.
You don't give a fuck. And that's how a listener listens to music typically.
Yeah.
That's why like I always felt like I had a lot of artists who were fans of my because like some of the flow switches and some of the sonics and shit,
They could respect that.
yeah, they comprehend it. You know what I mean? Where like a average listener is like, I don't get it.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Right. You know what I mean?
To me, it's like sometimes I know you could, well, all of it, I'm sure like we all can relate. It's like when you record that verse again and again and again. And then if you pull like a family member or like somebody else in the room, like, yo, do you hear anything different from these 5 verses? They be like, nah.
I don't hear nothing.
But you, like when you like, you could
shit.
tell that like, all right, my tone was probably a little different.
You want to hear something even colder than that though?
Yeah.
I have artists who come here, right? They record first take. Maybe they hit the whole verse in the first take, right? Nah, it wasn't it. So they record second take, third take. Now we're at the 20th take, and they record it and they go, that was perfect. And you listen to the first and 20th take and you go, there's no difference.
Yeah.
For me, as the engineer, I literally listen, I go, I'm talking difference in terms of, did it drastically change how the record sounds? If not, you didn't have to do those 20 takes. Like that's some perfection shit. Yeah.
Same
It's
words,
like, it's like, yeah, maybe you did it a little bit cleaner, but like, I'm looking at music now, like, did it change the way that someone will perceive the record? If not, you didn't have to do all that shit. You know what I mean?
But sometimes, I know as a rapper, sometimes it might be the way you said that R, or the way the spacing in the words were, that nobody might hear, but you know you wrote it and you wanted it to sound that way.
Yeah. And I think that as rappers, we do listen to music like that. And we might, like, I always tell an artist who does a punch in, like, they go, no, but I could tell that like I punched in. I'm like, yeah, but no one else will know. Like, unless you're telling us.
Because I can hear that on every song you hear a punching, like, oh, he's punching in.
Me and you will know that. Bills will know that. Twan will know that. Most people they don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'll hear like the slightest difference in their tone and know like they punched in and they didn't hit it properly. But like an average listener, if you were like, they punched that, they'd be like, what are you talking about?
I remember when I first started rapping, I was at the engineer's crib, you know, we were recording, and I'm like, yo, let me just do a punch in. He looked at me, he's like, you gonna punch in? Ever since then, like, he gave me that look. I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna do her shit over. I'm gonna do the whole shit over. Fuck it.
Yeah, but see, like, I hate that thought process, because to me, like, that's on the engineer to make that shit sound smooth.
Nah, that is right. But I feel like then as the artist, like, just do it over, bro. You could do the whole thing. You could do that whole shit so perfect that you don't have to punch.
I think
only at 16.
Yeah, but I think that I had a manager at one point when I was signed to like a independent, and when I had a manager, he was very against punches. And I feel like because of that, I like sped up words and I was trying to fit everything in. And it was just like, nah, not even just pressure. It was just like the record would have benefit from punching in at that point. There are certain flow
'Cause you had to
switches and
change
shit.
shit,
Right.
okay.
Like certain words overlap and that's fine in a verse. You know what I mean? Like maybe that one word was supposed to come in like a split second before it came in. And because you're trying to fit everything in while you're rapping, you can't make it sound how it's supposed to sound.
You know what's funny? Because I even find myself like, when I record, I make sure that I remember everything. So I don't want to read off the paper. I don't want to punch in. Like, I don't want to have like double vocals. Like, I just want everything to be like so pure that the average listener probably won't even like, but maybe that's the reason they fuck with me, but they won't know like, I went through so much shit to record this verse. Like, I had to be like so perfect to get like this little 16 out. And they just like, oh, yeah, it was cool.
So
I like the song. It was
that's
cool.
the thing that I definitely had a hard time with when Dig had to keep trying to hammer it. And I still have this problem to this day when I send them tracks. Like, it'll be certain points where it was like, I just need it to be perfect. And it's just, honestly, at times, I had to start, if he'll send me a mix, at this point, I had to start sending it to other people too. Like, yo, just listen to this and tell me what you think. Like, they're like a casual listener. Because if I listen to it, I'm going to hear something. I'm just going to be, I'll tell them, like,
Yo, me sending mixes, to go off what you're saying, me sending mixes to people, they listen to it for problems before they listen to it as a record.
As a record.
You know what I mean? And it happens all the time. They'll be like, yo, that one part. And I'm like, bro, that part is it lacks so much importance that like, I don't know why you're even focused on that. Yo, that ad lib, I feel like it's too loud. It's like, fam, one, no, it's not. I wouldn't have made it like that if it was. And two, like, it really isn't that serious. You know what I mean? So like play it for an average consumer and see if they notice that one ad lib without you telling them. Because if you sit there and go, yo, check out this one part, they're going to be like, oh, I hear it.
Yeah, they got it already.
Right. Like if you don't tell them though, they're not. I had an artist come by recently. He wanted to redo a line from a song, legit a line. And I'm like, he brought a girl here. I'm playing the record and I go, can you tell where the line is? And she listens to the whole shit. And she's like, wait, it happened already? And I'm like, exactly. And I told him, like, no one's going to notice that shit but you. And he was like, all right, we won't do it then. And I'm like, yo, if you really feel like uncomfortable, we could do it. But like, I'm just telling you, it's not that serious.
Nah, I feel that.
It's hard to break that, man. We be in our head, bro.
But I'll tell you what I started. I saw a Pac interview, right? And Lil Wayne said it too. But Pac was like, yo, when he got out of jail and he was recording All Eyes on Me. Wait, was that the album? Yeah. He said, yo, when I was recording that shit, he was like, yo, we're going to go in here, we're going to rap, you got the hook, all right, we're going to do that, and let the engineers do the work.
Yeah.
So I started going in, so when I record now, I do 3 takes. I make sure I just go through 3 times, boom, boom, boom. I finish the record, I won't even listen to the shit, and I'll send it to the engineer straight like that.
You know what Pac used to do that was cold? He would go into the booth, he would record the first record, he'd go, all right, cool, pull up the next record. They would pull up the next record, he'd record his verses, next record. And he would just do all his shit. He wouldn't focus on mixing it yet. He wouldn't focus
listening to it back to
He didn't give a fuck. Like, yo, let me record the shit. Let the engineer do their fucking job. Trust the engineer. That's a big thing. Trust your engineer. And if you don't trust your engineer, find a different engineer that you trust.
That's a fact. But
some people
that
like
increase my productivity in the studio because it's like, yo, I'm not so detail oriented now. I don't have to like keep going back because if I keep going back, I'm gonna keep hearing shit that I want to change.
But you could also give that song a couple years, like because when you make a record, you listen to it 1,000,000 times as an artist, right? But like, give that shit a couple years, and when you're bumping it, it doesn't even sound like a problem
resonate
anymore.
with you at
all.
all.
Like it doesn't matter.
Shit, your head.
You know what I mean? Like you don't hear that same problem that you heard years ago. Like it doesn't bother you to the same degree. When something's fresh, any imperfection is gonna bother you. But like nothing's perfect, nothing's gonna be perfect. So fucking navigate like that.
Cause you could think you being so punctual, and then like, let's just say if somebody do find something else wrong with it that you wasn't even thinking about. It was like, fuck, I was so focused on this one bar, and somebody pointed out a whole nother part of the song, and then it's like, now what?
Right, now I got to redo the whole shit because I'm a perfectionist and I fucking hate it.
I feel like that's a gift and a curse though, because you're like in your head and you think like, nah, none of this shit, like, and all of this shit can be like corrected or revised, but then that keeps you on top of your game as an artist. Cause it's like, yo, I want this to be the best shit that it can be. But, you know, like, obviously you ain't gonna kill yourself over it.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
but if you want, that make sure like you on top of your shit and it's gonna sound the best that it can sound.
But here's what I will say. Like,
yeah, because I don't want to sound contradicting, man, because I'm like that. I swear, like, I gotta keep doing that verse again.
Don't.
Like, for real.
Yeah, but
don't.
That's what I'm saying.
Honestly,
like,
bro,
it does cause
check
stress.
this out. I'm gonna tell you guys some cool shit. Like, yo, back in the day, I used to record on tape, right? These people would practice like Diana Ross and the Supremes. Like they would practice prior to the recording, but like tape was mad expensive. So what they would do is try to knock it out on the first fucking shot. And those are the biggest records of all time. And we don't, bro, they probably fucked up a couple of times in their records. You don't hear the shit because it's just so natural. Like, yo, people people stutter when they speak. People fuck up, like spit might be in your mouth and you might say a word with spit in it. Like all these things that like we would hear and be like, oh, did you hear that click? Like it's natural. This is life. This is how like we're supposed to give off a natural vibe. Like we're doing it in front of the people.
Music ain't meant to be perfect.
Like people want to hear those imperfections because it makes you human. Like when something's too perfect, it almost sounds too perfect.
Yeah,
that's robotic, bro.
Because I like after doing that, bro, I started like leaving in like where I fucked up at. But as long as you just keep going through it, I remember hearing about RZA how like all his beats, if he fucked up, he'll keep that shit in there.
Bro,
like he don't change nothing in the beat.
Even colder than that, listen to an old Wu-Tang song. Listen to the mix on that shit. It's fucking terrible.
Them shits probably weren't mixed at all.
Bro, METHOD, man. Like, listen to that record and tell me that the mix sounds good. The mixes were shit, bro, but like they're classic records that we're gonna bump till the end of time. Like these are just we don't notice shit like that unless we're told. You know what I mean? Like if I told you, yo, the mixes on 36 chambers are ass, and now you go listen, you're gonna be like, holy shit, these are terrible. But like you're not going to hear that if you're just bumping the records for the feel or for the vibe. You know what I mean? So that also plays into your own music. Like understand that like these people do not catch these things unless you tell them. So like when you're recording a record and you do 50 takes and the shit sounds eerily similar to the first take, it's like, was it worth that waste of time?
I'm not sure what interview this was, but someone was talking about an artist saying that like they recorded like 30 something like takes of like a verse and just ended up choosing like the second one.
Bro, deeper than that.
That sounds like
and then like
Kanye did
it might have been that's what I
Kanye
heard.
did I think 100
he
did 100 mixes of Stronger. And they used the second and third mix. Like
and
this
he's
is
still mixing, I heard.
But this is
just to see like
if he could get it better.
did it better, and it's like, all right, well, if this the ceiling,
that's how you drive yourself crazy though at the same time.
Yeah.
But that's why like and if we heard the first mix, we would have went crazy like we heard the third mix. You know what I mean?
But the thing, I don't know, man, because I'm looking at like Dre, like the poster behind you, and like he, they say that about him too, like how he's a perfectionist, like to the core.
Yeah, but ask an artist that's in the booth with him.
Beautiful.
It does sound beautiful, but also like
you said, the first one could have sounded the same way as the one we heard.
Right, like we're saying it sounds beautiful, but we never heard the first one.
Right.
And if you heard the first one and he mixed it the same way he mixed the third or the 20th or the 50th, you'd be like, that shit sounds beautiful.
That's the same with Rick Ross. He said Kanye asked him to write his verse to
Devil in a New Dress.
Yeah, I think he said he wrote it 3 times. Right. He said the third one is what they chose. But yo, I'm pretty sure that first one was probably crazy.
Probably fire.
Same thing with Pusha T with Runaway. He said he had to write his verse 3 times. Like, the first one was probably like, yo, some of the crazy shit we heard. But
right. But at the end of the day, I think that like that perfectionist mentality in music like actually kills creativity. I think that a lot of the time it like takes you away from what you should be focused on, and it makes you focus on something that's not that important. Because like realistically, the people that we're trying to get on board with us don't care. So you're caring about some shit that the people you want to like you don't even care about.
Because I think it's just something like don't really care about the results. You did the best you can. And at that point, if the results happen, the results happen. Besides that, keep working.
And this is the cold shit. Like, if they're not going to like that record, it's not because of that imperfection. They're not going to like that record because they just honestly don't fuck with that record.
And he was breathing too hard. I can't listen to this shit no more.
Right. Like, they don't, that's not what's going to, it's the whole vibe of the record. If you don't like something, it doesn't matter. Like, country music does not speak to me in any possible way. So they could have had the most perfect take in the world, and I'd still be like, this shit is trash.
Yeah.
Right? So no matter what type of perfect take they had, I don't care. It just doesn't sound good to me. Right? So if you're thinking that like a person is not going to like your music because you fucked up a bar, they weren't going to like that shit from the time that the beat started.
I don't think that will ever be like a question in my mind. I think it's just so much of the fact like, yo, if they're listening to this, I want it to be like perfect for them.
Yeah.
Obviously. But it does go back to that. But you can say the same thing about clothes. Like, yo, if you selling this, right? You give it to somebody, and it might be the stitching in the sleeve is not as sharp as it should be. The person wearing it ain't gonna give a fuck about the stitching, but you're gonna look at that shit and be like, "Yo, I want this to be so perfect that even if they do see it, I don't want them to say anything about it."
I would question someone like an average consumer. Have you ever listened to a song and the guy fucked up on a bar and it made you not want to listen to the song anymore? And I think if you asked 100% of people that, I think that 100% would say no.
Because I think all the times Wayne fucked up on a song, it was like, oops, I meant this. And then nobody even gave a fuck. They're like, oh yeah, fuck it, who cares? He meant this, so let's run with it.
Wayne said the F is for phenomenal on a record and nobody questioned that shit.
Or when Kanye said "In Too Deep" like Makai Fife.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Ain't not even in the movie.
Wayne said, "I'm fire, get a hydragen." Like nobody said shit. You know, these are all things that, like, yeah, I noticed the shit, but like, I still bump those
Like, who
records.
gives a
I don't give a
fuck?
fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or when you do hear a mistake, it's like, yo, this mistake fits this.
It
like,
gives it
part.
character.
Yeah.
Yo, he didn't know that fucking word. It's what it is, bro. Like, it's funny to us, but it's like you remember that song forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So even the imperfections, you might memorize that song because of the imperfections. You might be like, yo, remember that song where Wayne said F is for phenomenal? And everyone's like, oh yeah, I remember that shit. It's like because of the imperfection.
Yeah.
So something that you think would kill your record actually like helped it.
Yeah, I do got records like low key that just like one or two little like slips that
Mishaps.
I noticed. Yeah.
I bet you I
But-
could listen and never notice.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I've never got a message from nobody like,
That's what I'm saying.
yo, by the way,
That's what I'm
bro,
saying.
I love this
We
record.
Fucked
but,
up on his word, man. Go redo the song.
We be in our own way a lot of the times.
The only
and-
people that would say that to you is like your closest homie who is like listening with the intention of, yo, I need to help him.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like your best friend is listening and they're like, he's saying like he'll send a mix to his friends and shit. But like if they're listening for an issue, they'll be like, yo, that one line, you fucked that shit up.
And I don't even tell them what the fuck I think is fucked up or what I don't like about it. I'll just say, yo, do you hear anything strange?
Mhm.
Like, nah, it's just fire. Like, all right, I'm putting it out.
Yo, you know what I stopped doing? I stopped playing music for people and like wanting them to like tell me what's wrong with it.
I hate that
Like,
shit.
yo, I'll just
Don't-
play them like, yo, listen to this new shit. Cause I remember I used to play shit for people and they were like, well, before I even asked them, like, yo, like, what can I work on? They were like, oh, nah, you gotta change that. I'm
Mhm.
like, bro, ain't nothing wrong with this shit. What are you talking about?
Yo, I always tell people I don't take critique without credentials.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't tell me how to fix it.
No,
the problem.
don't tell me anything. I don't want you to tell me anything unless you could do the same thing.
Unless you make
Mhm.
music or you know how to structure a 16 or chorus, anything.
if I ask Bales for advice about a song, knowing that he knows how to construct a song, I could take his word for it. If I ask my homie who is a fucking accountant about a song and he's trying to tell me how to write a bar, but this kid has never written a bar in his life, I
Then don't
don't
tell
want
me-
that.
yeah.
I don't want
Okay.
that advice.
Because people
bro. It's not
love
like-
I like
doing
that.
that
I like
shit.
that.
People
You know what I'm
love
saying?
doing that shit. Like, yo,
Yeah.
you should probably rap like this. Like, bro, you don't
But
rap though.
I think it's more so of like they want to kind of be a part of it and
Of
they
course
want
they
to
do.
and they want to step in the artist's shoes. Like,
Right, but like, yo,
You're
a
not an
volleyball
artist.
coach is not going and telling someone how to shoot a 3-pointer. Like, it's just, you stay in your lane. You understand
Yeah.
what you're good at. Now, if I went to you and said, yo, I'm trying to start volleyball, how could I go about that? I'll
Mhm.
take all the advice in the world from you. If my accountant homie wants to give me accounting advice, I would take it. But
Yeah.
I'm not taking your rap advice because you're not a rapper.
If I
Plain
send
and
you a
simple.
track, you a casual listener. That's your purpose. You are just a listener.
Do you like the record or do you not like the
That's
record?
all I
That's
need
what
to
I
know.
want
Yes or
from
no?
you. Don't
All
give
I
me a
need to know.
fucking, don't give me a
I like that.
bar
It's simple as
structure.
that.
Yeah, it's mad simple. Yes or no with it. You know what I mean? And just because your friend doesn't like the record doesn't mean it's not a good record.
Yeah,
Another
man, it's
thing.
not for him. It's
Yeah,
not for
that's
him.
right.
a fact.
Because he might just not like it. That's fine. But
Yeah.
you could play it for someone else and be like, this is the hardest shit you've ever made. And you're like,
yeah.
well, that's weird.
Yeah.
You know?
It's all perspective,
Yeah,
right? At the end.
hell yeah.
For sure. It's subjective. Music as a whole is subjective. You know, so
Yeah.
that's why you got to make what you like and you got to make the records that like feed your soul rather than trying to feed everyone else's soul.
It's
because-
funny. We have this argument all the time about like how music is subjective because one of our homies is like a big Jay-Z fan, think he's the greatest rapper. My other homie is a Ghostface fan and think Ghostface is the greatest rapper.
Right.
And they get into it all the time about who's like the better rapper.
It's like you arguing against apples and oranges, and it's like y'all never gonna see the same thing. So why even continue?
Bro, if
to
they
go
was
down
here
the
right
same road?
now, I bet you they'll be arguing about who's better.
Fam, it works with
No
everything.
lie, right? No lie.
Yo, I get a plate of food and I go, this shit slaps. And I give it to you and you're like, this is the worst thing I ever tasted. It just is what it is. We all have different tastes with shit. We all hear shit differently. We see shit differently. You could see your homie's girl and be like, that girl is nasty looking. And he thinks that she's the most beautiful chick in the fucking world.
Somebody for
That's
everybody.
facts.
Right. And the same
Yeah.
thing applies to music. And I think
Yeah.
that like average or not an average, but like a upcoming artist needs to understand that. Like, yo, you can't make people happy. You can only make yourself happy. And then people that are made happy by the same thing will come along. You just got to make yourself happy to start though.
Well, I think this is probably off air when you mentioned it. It's like when you're trying to create for everybody, that's where you kind of already like
Yeah, you already messed up.
fucked up.
And
Yeah,
we've all done it.
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's not-
my
it-
early stuff was trying to be for like
Right. And that's
whole world.
never going to be like, I always say on this podcast in particular, like, we don't say things to sound arrogant or to sound like we're better than or holier than thou. Like everything that we're saying is shit that we've experienced ourselves. So like I made trap records and that's why I know that was a mistake. I
Mhm.
did all these things that you're trying to do to catch everybody. And that's why I know that it's a problem. Like, I'm not talking from no experience whatsoever. And that's why, like, I don't want anyone to listen and be like, well, I make trap and I talk about pills, so like he's dissing me. Like, nah, I'm not dissing you. If you're about that, do it. But like, if you're making that record for the sole purpose of getting people who do pills to listen to it, that's a mistake. You're making the wrong decision, because those people will spot you out. Same thing for like dudes trying to be fake hood. Like, yo, when the hood dudes see you and they try to pull that card because of all the shit you were talking, and you're not about that life, you just did yourself more harm than benefit. What was the purpose? Be yourself. You know what I'm saying? And there's mad people like you. I don't give a fuck what you're like,
That's
bro.
a fact, bro.
You could be an anime rapper and you just rap solely about anime. There's people out there that fuck with that shit.
Who's the fucking the Mario Judah dude that be walking around the streets?
Facts. I listen to that shit. I go, it's terrible. Other people listen to it and they're like,
They
this
love
is
that
so
shit.
dope.
Yeah.
Cool, bro. There's people for everyone. And that's why, like, you don't have to try hard to be somebody different. You just got to make what you actually enjoy making. And the people just like you. And it's so much colder when you walk into a room of like-minded individuals. So like, if I'm making those trap records and say I do get successful on some fabricated shit, right? The people that are in the room with me now are people that I don't even necessarily want in the room with me.
Yeah, you never really resonate with them.
Right, exactly. Because you fabricated all the interest. Like if I rap about shit that I like and I build a following on people that like the same shit, now when I go, I'm gonna see familiar faces that look like who I wanted to
Yeah, that's
be
your
around.
tribe right there.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just doper to be yourself and kind of like navigate the game like that. We went way over the
Yeah, I was about to just say, you know, that all we just talked about is literally just talking about art and business encompassed together, as far as like, you know, understanding where you should be and how you should promote. We went over a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that this was a really good episode, and I
the
think that a
camera
lot of
been
people.
died, I think.
It's all good.
This is a black
But,
corn over there.
You guys were great.
Oh, thank you, bro.
I want you guys to come back at some point, and
Definitely.
we'll do another episode and kind of like update on whatever we're working on and shit. But like, I appreciate you guys for coming on here and giving your opinions and your perspective on shit.
Definitely do.
Nah, thank you,
It
bro.
makes the conversation so much like it flows a little bit better too.
Well, it's also like, I think that people get to a certain point where they're listening to the same people talk over and over, and they go, all right, man, like, you know,
Where's
like,
somebody
enough.
You
else?
gotta like break it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
and that's why like Rogan works, because he's constantly bringing on different people, and that's why all
Yeah.
these podcasts that have guests work, because they're bringing on people and getting new perspectives. Like they
Yeah.
still fuck with the
main
foundation,
core. You gotta
but
switch it up.
you do have to switch it up and bring people in to give a different perspective.
Can I just say something real quick before we end?
Go ahead.
The kid that's listening to this right now, right? Whether it be 5 years from now, 5 months, 15 years, whatever. Because once it's on the internet, it's up there forever.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do what works best for you. You feel me? Like, no matter what we all talking about right now, like, you could take bits and pieces, but you can't do exactly what worked for us. You feel me? So find what it is that works and do that shit, and don't let nobody stop you from doing that shit.
Facts.
It's a fact. All right, plug your socials and everything.
Dolla ignDunn on everything, straight like that.
And TwonDonUC, the UC for upper class.
All right, peace out, guys.
All right.
Love.